Ryan Kairalla. I'm the principal attorney at Ryan A. Kairalla, PA, also the general counsel at Doral College, and I'm a counsel at Academic or Virtual Education. And I've been a practicing attorney for about 10 years and work with a wide range of organizations and individuals in the education field, as well as the entertainment industry.
That is wonderful. And guys, I know some of you guys emailed me your questions. Go ahead and put some of those questions in the chat if you'd like to ask Ryan any questions. But one of the kids emailed me and wanted to know, have you always been interested in the study of law?
As far back as I can remember, absolutely. While my path of what kind of law I wanted to practice has sort of changed a little bit, I had a idea pretty young that I wanted to be a lawyer. My older brother was a lawyer, and so I kind of followed in his footsteps a little bit. I was definitely interested in what he was doing. I was a lot of folks in my family were lawyers, uncles, aunts, things like that. So I sort of followed what they were doing. And from a very young age, I was very interested in the legal aspects of the entertainment industry, wanted to be an entertainment lawyer or a record executive. I also got very interested in politics and government. When I was in college, I interned in a U.S. Senator's office, which is the legislature here in the United States. I interned in their office in college and thought I was going to maybe do something in politics or policy for a little while. And then later on in my life, I really fell back in love with entertainment again, as well as got really interested in the education field. And so those interests combined with my interests in law and are now driving what I do today.
Well, that's really interesting because most people think of an attorney. When I was growing up, I always thought of an attorney as someone who argues in front of a judge. And can you talk to the kids about the different facets of law and the different kind of categories they can go into?
That's a really good point, Ralph. And in fact, it was very much the same thing for me as well. When I saw lawyers, it was the lawyers I saw on television. And those lawyers were arguing before judges, and they were trying to a prosecutor on Law and Order, which is a TV show here in the United States, trying to get bad guys into jail, or a defense attorney trying to get innocent people out of jail. And I thought for a while that was going to be my path too. When I was in high school and college, I did a lot of debate. And so I thought, oh, I'm definitely going to be one of those people that's arguing before a judge. And then later on in my life, I started to enjoy more of what's called transactional law. So the other side of being a lawyer that you don't see as much because they don't show it on television is what's called transactional legal work, where you are advising clients, people and organizations on setting up deals, creating companies and contracts, and merging companies together and helping make big business deals happen. And I found that I enjoyed that a lot more. For me, I'm not as much driven by conflict. I don't want to try to beat somebody in court. I like to build things. I like to help other people build things. I like to make big things happen. And that's what transactional lawyers get to do. I get to advise really amazing entrepreneurs, educators, entertainers, and help them make big things happen by advising them on all of the legal implications of what they're going to be doing.
That's really great. We have one of the students just messaged a question to me, and they wanted to know, is it common for international students to come to America and become attorneys?
It is quite common, in fact. It varies from state to state, but I can tell you that I went to law school in New York City at a school called New York University. And New York University, because it was located in the state of New York, had a very active LLM program. So an LLM is like a master's degree in law. And an LLM is one type of LLM allows lawyers who have a law degree in another country to come to the United States for 1 year of legal study and get a LLM in American law, which in several states, including the state of New York, allows you to take the bar exam and become a practicing attorney in the United States. So my law school class had a lot of students from South America, from China, from Europe, coming. They were already attorneys in their home country. In a lot of countries, the law is a bachelor's level program. You get a bachelor's degree in law. In the United States, it's a doctoral program. So you go to law school after you complete your undergraduate education. So my law school class had a lot of foreign lawyers who got their bachelor's degree in law in another country and then came to the United States to my law school for 1 year to get their LLM in a US law so that they could take the bar exam. And a lot of those folks are lawyers in the United States now.
That's I always think that that's so fascinating when someone comes from another country to here, and because lawyers, man, that is not an easy job to become an attorney. So one of the
I'll say this, I was always very impressed by those international lawyers, right? Because, I grew up learning American government and American law, learning how the courts work, the Supreme Court, how laws get made in the United States. We're learning that in the United States from like the 4th or 5th grade. Foreign students, folks who are, not who have to learn another system of law in their home country, who then have to come to the United States and learn all the stuff about the American legal system that I had been spending my whole life learning from very young. And those people come to the United States, they learn the American legal system, and the fact that they can thrive and become great American lawyers is really impressive to me. But a lot of folks do it.
That's wonderful. And thank you all for the questions that are coming in the chat. And again, if you have any more questions, just go ahead and message them in the chat. One of the students says, I'm a high school student at the moment, and I would like to be a lawyer. What do you recommend that I start studying?
Fantastic question. And there's really 2 parts to this question. On one hand, I can tell you, you should study whatever you are passionate about and whatever interests you. One of the cool things about the law, at least with respect to American law, is that it brings people from a diverse array of fields. My law school class was filled with political science majors, economics majors, but also math majors, engineering majors, science majors, even some music majors, theater majors. Students, you can bring a wide range of experiences and disciplines into legal study, because you're going to want to use that outside experience to become a better lawyer. Some of the best lawyers I know, math majors, theater majors, musicians often can be very good lawyers because they learn discipline. That being said, while you're in high school, maybe spend some time really focusing on your language classes like language arts, English. You're going to do a lot of writing as a lawyer, a lot of research as a lawyer. So getting very comfortable with writing in English, very, very important. Social studies is important as well. If your program allows you to take classes in American government or any kind of American history, American social studies, getting a background in the American legal system can really go a long way in helping you study law in the United States, because all of that stuff is going to come up in your law school class.
I cannot imagine. Another kid is asking, how did you come up with the idea? Because I sent out your website. How did you come up with the idea of mixing your passion of music and law together?
That is a wonderful, wonderful question. My entrance into entertainment law is very similar to the story of a lot of folks who get into this field, which is I really liked music. I'm an amateur musician. I play a few musical instruments. When I was in high school, I played in bands, and I really got a lot out of that experience. The music and the arts really made me the person I am today. But I also understood very early on that I didn't quite have the skill to be able to make a living in the arts. But I really enjoyed the business side, and I was often giving my musician friends in high school and college advice on the music business. I would read a lot of books on it, and I found that side of the industry to be really, really fascinating. So I knew I was interested in the business side of music, and I knew I was always interested in the law. So to me, it made perfect sense to bring those things together and make a career out of it. So that's what I did.
And you certainly have. Definitely check out his website. There are a lot of, I listen to his shows on my own, and it's pretty interesting stuff. One of the kids is asking, would you be able to talk about one of your more memorable cases that you ever had to work on? And I don't know if you were criminal law at any point, but we'll keep it just like the music side.
Well, thankfully, I haven't had to work on too many criminal cases, but I'll tell you guys about a case that I worked on in entertainment law very recently that is kind of public news right now. A lot of people know about it. And so I'm pretty sure I can talk about this here and be a cool story for you. How many of you all are familiar with the recording artist Pitbull, the rap artist, Mr. 305, Mr. Worldwide, seeing some hands up? So whenever you hear,
they all know.
Okay,
I saw every hand shoot
well, yeah,
up.
well, good. We're all fans of Mr. 305. So how many of you, when you listen to a Pitbull song, right before Pitbull raps his verse, you hear the sound, woo! I didn't do it right because I'm not as talented as Pitbull, but y'all know what I'm talking about, that yell that he does in most of his songs?
Yeah, they know that.
Did you know that the you sound is a registered trademark? If you go to the US Patent and Trademark Office database, you can look up that sound, and it's a registered trademark, which means it's part of Pitbull's brand. And that means that trademark protection is like a name or a logo. So McDonald's, for example, that's a trademark. You cannot start another fast food company named McDonald's because McDonald's owns that trademark. Similarly, you are limited in your ability as an artist. Another artist can't use the you sound in their music because Pitbull, that's part of his brand and it has trademark protection. And it was kind of a big case and that I got to work on with a few other lawyers because it was the first time ever that a sound was used as a trademark for musical sound recordings. So there are very few sound trademarks, and we did the very first sound trademark in musical sound recordings. This was something that was very important to Pitbull. It was kind of a new novel legal concept. Nobody had thought we could do it. And we researched the law, a group of lawyers and I, and we said, I think we can do it. And we filed for the trademark. We had a little bit of a conversation with the government about it because they thought it was weird. And we were able to convince them that this was a legitimate trademark, and that trademark registration is there today. It wound up being such a cool case that we worked on that we got to write a paper on it in a university legal journal, in the NYU Journal of Entertainment Law. And we actually got to co-write it with Pitbull. So Mr. 305 got to become a law professor, which was kind of fun. And that the story got published in all these music magazines, Billboard magazine, Above the Law, all these really cool news publications that I never thought would ever write about anything that I did. And all of a sudden, here I am in all these publications. And so that was a really fun case to work on. And it was an example of how we got to be creative and protect the work of one of our clients and do a great job for them and get a little news along the way. Get to be internet famous for about 24 hours. So that was fun.
That is incredible. I can't even imagine how that conversation just was birthed. We should own this sound. Wow, I did not know that. You see, you're getting more and more interesting every time I talk to you. One of the kids wants to know, what are your plans for the future of your career? Because I would say, I'm gonna go on top of that question and say, you don't really have what I would call a stereotypical background for an attorney.
To say the least, yeah.
And so I'm like, so what are your hopes for the future there?
Man, that is a really good question. I'll tell you this. If you told high school version of me that this is what I would be doing, 20 years from now, I would say, I'll take it. This is exactly what I want. I get to work with amazing educators. I get to work with amazing entrepreneurs. I get to work with amazing organizations in the nonprofit and for-profit industries. And I get to do it in a way where I don't have to wear a tie to work every day. I'm not, I don't have to work in some really busy law firm environment where where it's super demanding. I get to work with cool clients who are doing interesting things every day, and I get to talk with amazing students like you. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, if I can do this for like another 20, 30 years until I'm old and gray, I would absolutely take it. But going forward, I would love more opportunities to continue to work with amazing education organizations, to continue to work with amazing artists, and to continue to do more work on the podcasting side. I really love podcasting and live streaming. I really use these forms of media a lot to spread my message out to clients, because a big part of what I do is I want to give advice to people and tips to people, even if they're not clients. I like to give information because there's lots of artists out there who need this information, who can't afford a lawyer. And so I use podcasting and live streaming as a way to reach those folks. And so I would love to continue to keep doing that work and to expand on it.
Well, you're doing a lot of great work, and I'm a fan of your work. We have one of our kids, and he is asking, for some time I decided to do podcasts as a hobby. Do you have any advice to how I can improve in the field? And also, can you explain complex topics in an easy way? Like, do you ever have that where you have a complex topic and you have to kind of simplify it for your podcast?
Absolutely. Wow. Two great questions. And a big part of what I have to do in podcasting is take very complicated concepts like the law, like copyrights, like trademarks, and make them simple. And so that's a big challenge for podcasters, especially legal podcasters. But the first question, we'll start with that, which is general podcasting tips and advice, how to get started. And I'll tell you that one of the biggest mistakes I see podcasters make, especially when they get started, is they feel like they have to make everything perfect on episode 1 before they put anything out on the air. They'll buy all the best equipment. They will, spend forever doing show prep, and they'll take lots of notes, and they'll get all this stuff together. And then when the episode's done, they'll edit. And then they'll spend a lot of money on a hosting service, and they'll put the episode out. And then maybe they put out 2 or 3 episodes, and then they get overwhelmed, and then they stop. And so what I will tell you with podcasting and with most fields of endeavor, frankly, this is great just life advice. The best way to start is to put something out there, to create. The only way you get better at creating is by creating. I've made probably close to 500 episodes of podcasts between the entertainment podcast that I do and the education podcast that I do. And I'm still learning, and I'm still getting better at things. But I can tell you, the very first 10 podcasts I did, 50 podcasts I did, probably 100 podcasts I did, they weren't that great. I go back and I listen to them and I cringe and I go, oh goodness, that's terrible. But I wouldn't have gotten to where I am now if I didn't get the bad episodes out of the way, right? The only way to get better at anything is you have to be willing to let yourself be bad at it first. So you make lots of episodes, you practice, you get better, you see what you're doing and see how you can improve upon it. And, don't feel like you have to buy all the best equipment right away. My very first podcast was like a little simple recorder into a laptop computer. Today I have lights and camera monitors and a mixer and all this different equipment. But I didn't start with that stuff. I started with something very basic, and I built it as I went to make sure that this was something that I was going to be able to do long term before I put a lot of money in it. But there are some great podcasts out there where it's just a person with their laptop, or even a person just talking onto their phone and recording it. And you can make great content that way. So just start and, put out things consistently. Really commit yourself to putting out a new episode every week, every month, whatever schedule you want, but make sure you stick to a schedule, and you'll just get better the more that you do it.
Yeah, we have that with edutainment, where it's just I'll never forget the first few of these. I was like, oh. When I go back and watch it, I was like, oh, I feel like I'm watching a train wreck from 2013. One thing that wasn't in your bio that the kids should be aware of, there was a lot of, during COVID, there were a lot of musicians, because there's a lot of independent artists who feed their families on ticket sales, CD sales, etc. Ryan took it upon himself to raise money for all of these artists, and how it was one of my favorite memories of you, with the pie in the face and all that kind of stuff. But how much were you able to raise to support these artists?
Well, with that initial telethon that we did, where we raised money for musicians that were affected by COVID, I think we initially raised $4,000 that went right. Every dime of it went to the COVID relief programs for musicians. And then from there, we got, other donations that came later, and we've sort of continued the fundraiser after that. But what a cool moment that was, getting to work with so many great musicians. Ralph was actually instrumental in helping bring a lot of great creators to help us with that telethon. But I think that telethon that we did, which we called, what was the name of it?
Something break the business. It was
break the business. Break the business, creators rise. That's what it was.
Yeah.
We did an 8-hour telethon that where we had about 20 or 30 musicians come in. And the great thing about that event was, even though it was a big challenge to put together, it was very doable. We had no budget. We did it from my house. We had a camera and a couple computers, and we did the whole thing on Facebook Live. And we're able to, we put together this. It was a live stream. We used Facebook Live. We used Zoom. I think just like what Ralph does with edutainment here. And with very little budget and just a whole bunch of people that really wanted to raise money, we were able to put on a pretty successful event. Now, the crazy thing is that had I done that same event today, it would have been 1,000 times easier, because the innovations that have happened in live streaming in just the last couple years, because of the pandemic, by the way, have made live streaming so easy, so incredible. My podcast, Break the Business, I do it now as a live stream because there's a program I use now called StreamYard, which allows me to do my show as a TV show, and it goes out on Twitch, it goes out on YouTube, it goes out on Facebook, it goes out on Twitter, all at the same time. Boy, could we have used that during our telethon 2 years ago. But when I think about what that technology means for people like you, I mean, it's easier than ever for young people to basically have your own TV shows, to do your own live streams. If there's an issue out there that you care about, whether it's law, whether it's politics, whether it's the environment, whatever it is that you care about and you're passionate about, there are so many tools out there for you to get your message to a worldwide audience for close to free. And, maybe you like podcasting, and podcasting is great, but maybe you want to actually get your face out there and you want to use live streaming. There's lots of tools for that too. TikTok has been great with this. A lot of people are creating short videos with TikTok to get their message out there. And TikTok also has a great live streaming feature. I think TikTok is available in most of your countries as well, or you have a similar programs to it. But these are great ways to get your message out there, to talk about the things that you care about, and to explore your passion. So I encourage you to get into those things now, whether it's podcasting, whether it's live streaming, whether it's making TikTok videos, and get your voice out there and be a part of the conversations that you care about.
Yeah, if I can jump on that and just add to that, the kids have access to so much information. So if they want to go into law, there's a whole heck of a lot that they can research and study way ahead of time to figure out if that's something they want to do. If they want to go into podcasting, that's definitely something that they can master, and you can put that on your resume. Ryan and I are from the older guard. So this will be one of the final questions. So, and this is from me. How difficult, or how kind of scary was it not really knowing a lot about law when you started working? Was there ever a point where you were like, man, maybe I made a mistake, or were you always gung-ho with law?
So the way I got into law, since I didn't go into one of those big stuffy law firms straight out of law school, right? I worked with organizations right away. So I enjoyed that because, again, I didn't have to put on a tie to go to work every day. I didn't have to deal with some grinding, just difficult work environment. Instead, I got to work directly with clients, and I've loved it. But the flip side of that was I had to teach myself a lot of things. I didn't have the mentorship of a senior partner to help guide me along the way. And I've had a lot of attorneys that have served in that mentor role, which is nice. But what has kept me going and has allowed me to find success despite that is a piece of advice that I got very early on that I would like to share with all of you, because I think it's the most important piece of advice to tell young people. And I want you to just listen up and really adhere to it. And it's this, all right? This is the big trick of life. I'm going to give it to you right now. If you wait until you are 100% ready to take on an opportunity, you will lose that opportunity to somebody who is 80% ready or 70% ready and is willing to learn the rest on the job. There is this myth out there in the world that all the people who are doing things right now are 100% ready to do them. And that's just not the case. Most people out there are kind of faking it. Like, there's no other way. Like, not that they're not qualified at all, but they see an opportunity out there and they go, gosh, I really want to do this. I don't know everything about how to do this, but I know enough to get started, and I trust in myself that I will figure out the rest along the way. So please, in your own life, don't succumb to imposter syndrome and think that, oh, I'm not like that person, so I can't do that field. I assure you that if there's an opportunity out there and you're excited about it, that excitement is often enough for you to get started. And then you just have to trust in yourself that you can learn the rest as you go and that you can figure it out, because in most cases you can.
Dang, man, you got me inspired. I think I'm actually going to go be a lawyer now.
Why not?
Man, I'm like, why not?
It's never too late for that stuff. I had a lot of folks in my law school class who were much, much older, people in their 50s and 60s going back to law school. I'm just saying, but if they could do it, you absolutely can too.
Oh my gosh.
And same thing with podcasting. I didn't know anything about podcasting until I started. In fact, I mean, this is going to make me feel really old. You know how I first learned podcasting? I had to get a book because that's all that there was. Yeah, I was literally podcasting for dummies, and that's how I got started. And you guys have so many more resources now. And that's the great thing about being, young people is, anything that you want to learn, you can Google. Like, there's a YouTube video for everything now. So if you don't know how to do something, there is an infinite number of resources out there to help you learn. So don't let the fact that you don't know 100% of how to do something get in the way of you giving it a try, because there's plenty of resources out there for you to figure it out as you go.
You are the man. I love talking to you. I always love talking to you. Before we let you go, is there any advice that you could give to these students as they go off into the world and kind of make their own way, whether they want to go into law or they want to go into something completely different? What would you say to them?
Well, I kind of already gave out my really great piece of advice at the end there. That made before. That's the real one I try to hook people with. But I would say beyond that, you really need to just follow the things that you're passionate about. And, I had a professor who used to say, follow your smile. Now, that doesn't mean that if the only thing in the world that you are passionate about is playing video games, that, you just have to play video games and you can't do anything else. Because you'll find that you will chase different things in your life that will cause you to have passion. You'll follow those things. And then later in life, you'll find other passions. You'll find other things that make you smile. And sometimes you'll get the opportunity to work for a really great boss that you're passionate about working with. And maybe it's not in the field that you think is good, but if you're passionate about a project right now, follow it, see where it leads, because later in life, other opportunities will present themselves. Other things that you're passionate about will be there. And you just have to follow that wherever it goes.